viewers, and welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. I forgot where we left off on my Jeep project. Regardless, this is where we're going to start. So we've got the front suspension in, the rear suspension in, the adjustable sway bar links, track bar, the whole spiel, the rock sliders, all that business. Haven't put in that slip yoke eliminator yet, so I can get my rear drive shaft. I've been off, took a week off, and then just haven't had time to work on it, so it's been sitting a while. I want to take and get the front axle converted. I've got the Iron Rock Off-Road, front axle conversion kits. We're going to convert it to U-joints and get rid of the CV joints. The CV joints in it right now are completely wasted. The boots are ripped, and I'd rather run U-joints, something a little bit stronger. They make a really nice heavy axle kit for it. A little bit heavier than the stock Dana 30. I think it's a little heavier than the stock Dana 44. And the reason I say that is I bought a couple seals to go in the outside of the axle tubes, just to it just seals out the dirt and crap from getting in there. Not something that's on there from the factory, not 100% needed, but when I got them, they will not fit the Iron Rock Off-Road axles that I got, so I can only assume that they are bigger than the Dana 44, because that's what these seals were supposed to fit. Regardless, we'll get started. Now I've already removed the rotor and brake caliper and bracket, which, it's a couple bolts, so no big deal. I sprayed down, put a little Panther P on some stuff here. We're going to get the hub off, get the axle shaft out. At this point, if you're doing both of them, which obviously you should be doing, if you're going to do the inner axle seals, pull your cover, pull your differential out, change those seals. To be 100% honest with you, I already did the passenger side. When I pull that axle out, the seal looks mint. There's not even a trace of any type of leakage in there, so just at the heck with it. Leave it for now. I'm sure at some point it'll leak, but at some point I'll need more ball joints and U-joints, I'm sure too. I guess that's probably fair to mention in this video too. I'm also putting in upper and lower ball joints. Forgot to say that at the beginning. So I'm just going to take and bust the 3 bolts loose that hold the wheel bearing on, and we'll get that out of here. Now these are a 12 point, so if your bolts are kind of crusty, then you're going to have to get some new ones. I love working on Southern vehicles. That never happens in New York, but yeah, like I said, 13mm 12 point. Not uncommon to see them on Chryslers. I think I'm going to take and bust the tie rod loose while we're right here. Find something that fits it. What we got here? Hey, look at that chrome socket. That'll work. We'll get that out. I've already taken the cotter key out of it. Whoa! I love it. Now, I do have new tie rods and stuff. I'm not going to put them on quite at this point. I don't think these ones are completely shot yet. The other side wasn't too bad. Just when I know I can get down and get it lined up, I will do them at that point. I think the only thing I've done since I've seen you guys last, I did have straightened out my steering wheel. Just loosened up the drag link that goes from the steering box over to that wheel over there and cranked it till the wheel was straight. So not a huge deal there. It drives pretty decent down the road. I'm pretty surprised. Oh, the boring bits. I do plan on taking the whole knuckle off, so I'm just going to take and unhook the speed sensor if we can. Don't break, little fella. You don't even think about this on a New York Jeep, you're just going to have a little stub there. It should come out. Oh, look at that. Fancy. Since that bolt has a little Loctite on it, it should have a little plastic nipple off it. And it does, yep, right there. So, and we'll just take and pull it out of the bracket, because the bracket's going to come off when we take the upper ball joint nut off. I'll just set that to the side, somewhere out of the way. Still got to get the brake hose for the other side too. I keep forgetting that. We're gonna get lucky. Can we just tap it? It's coming. Look at that. Fancy. So if you're beating on the back side of the face of the hub, back side of the hub here on the wheel bearing, sometimes if you hit it hard enough, you'll just drive it out of the bearing. So to prevent yourself from doing that, just put the axle nut back on it, and whap on it. Because sometimes if you hit them too hard, the bearing will actually start to get loose, which if it does, no big deal, just snug it back up with the axle nut. And yes, I am going to reuse these bearings before somebody asks. These bearings are not bad. They're not loose. They're not noisy. I'm just going to clean them up, clean up the spindle, pull the axle out. So I will be reusing them, but I assume that this thing's going to eat, U-joints and wheel bearings, just because of the oversized tires and what we're going to do with it. So there's no sense in just jumping the gun and putting bearings on it now, but yeah, you can see the axles here are junk. We're just going to get the cotter pins out of the ball joints. If I can, if I can't, no big deal. We'll just beat a socket up on there and just spin them off, which I think we'll end up doing. Nope, that one's going to come out, hopefully. Yep, that one came out. I'll get this upper one out. Get these nuts off, and then we'll be good. Hopefully. Famous last words. These things are a pain in the dupa to put ball joints in because they're on a taper. So you got to get a little bit creative with the ball joint press. I do not have the correct adapter for these, oddly enough. I know I've done these in the past, and I remember the same struggles. Don't forget to save your bracket. Also, don't forget to put it back on, like I may or may not have done on the other side. Now, in the words of Michael Jackson, just beat it. So I'll come in with a little pickle fork action. You can spread these ears pretty easy. They're pretty weak axle, pretty vulnerable to spreading, so don't go silly on it. That's all she takes. Put a little tension on it, give it a smack on that bottom ball joint. Leave the nut on it, otherwise it'll hit the floor. Oops, that whole ball joint came apart. So it's still stuck in there. Now it's not. And this is why we're changing them. So the upper ball joints, if you're checking these, they do have some vertical movement. So be aware of that. So I'm going to be using my Astro ball joint kit. I don't think this bottom one, we can push it all the way, but we can at least get it started. I just don't think the cup has enough depth on it. We'll get it started, and then we should be able to just give it a little tap. And just how they're staggered, you can't get in there like with the air hammer to just wow the crap out of them either. There, it just bottomed out in the cup. But I don't think it's in there that tight now. Let's see. be wrong. Oh, easy fella. Oh, you better learn how to hit like a man. Whoa! Almost lost a toe. But not quite. But it was close. So that's the lower ball joint. Of course, the stud's gone. But this one's still right here. Nobody probably even got my joke. Oh, let's see. We want that little guy here. We'll stick this on here. The upper one's the toughest one to put in. They actually suck to do, if I'm being honest with you. Which I try to be most of the time. There's that. There's that. And there's what's left of the upper. I'm just going to clean some of the crud off around them. I'm going to get a little emery cloth clean on the inside of them. Make sure they're shiny. And then we'll get to pressing in the new ones. So these ball joints are from RT Off-Road. Lower is greasable. Now, figure out where you want your grease fitted. I think if it, points back and in slightly, we can get to it. Now, the way these are machined, you can't get your quick connect on your grease gun around these. You have to have a little, adapter to do so. So I'm just going to put them at a slight angle, pointing that way. Certainly should be able to get to them with the wheels on. I've just got a cup on here. I want to see if I can't just tap it to get it started, just to hold it a little bit. One less thing you got to try to juggle. And these are on a slight taper too, not as much. And I'm just going to use this for a receiver cup on the top side. Maybe. Just enough room. You want them to go straight. This is where it all goes wrong. Most every time. I'm just going to try to do it by hand, keep an eye on it as it's going in. Looks like a little cattywampus there. You just got to kind of keep shifting your cup around and making sure everything's somewhat straight. Get a little tension on it, give it some tap. A lot of times that'll help self-center it. And you can see my top cup is off, so I gotta get a shorter ratchet. And basically I just keep working it. Work it, girl. Kind of like that, just a little different. I definitely should have bought the appropriate cups before doing this job, but I didn't. As it nears the top, you got to make sure it's going to hit center of your receiver cup, which ours isn't. Just starting to poke through now. Stop it. I'm going to try a different top cup. This one's a little more forgiving as far as being off center. And we're in. Probably should have mentioned, I did take the lower rubber boot off it prior to installing it, that way I wouldn't damage it. And that just sets up on there, no snap ring or anything like that. And just look around it, make sure it's, you know, flat with your axle. And now we've got this upper here. It's a bear. I'm going to take the grease fitting out of it because we're going to be pushing flat on the top of it. We can leave the rubber boot on. It's not a huge deal. Set it in a way in which you can get to the, you know, cotter keyhole. If you got it like this, it comes out and hits your knuckle. So, you know, just stick it something like so. Then we have to find a cup that fits it. That one fits it just lovely. We'll see if we can't get it started a little. Yeah, it looks like it's tilted a little. Straight now, little fella? I think so. We're pretty close. So this is the sucky part. That's got to be done. So you can see, hopefully you can see that, you know, this is on an angle. Essentially we need our cup like so. We'll come on here. We'll get it kind of half set up. We're not using that cup, fella. What are we going to use? We'll use that little one we just had, wherever it disappeared to. And you're always disappearing. Right there. We'll push on it. So we'll get this set up, and that swung to the side. These things go in there tighter than a Banshee. You know how tight Banshees get. So what we need, or what I choose to do, because I don't have the right cup, is we have to fill this space. Let me go get something to fill that space with. If you start pushing it on this angle, it's just going to go crooked and get all stupid on you. So we're going to abuse my poor little pick. We're going to let that open up. Should be about the right thickness. I'm thinking. Of course, when the ball joint comes through, you know, it's going to want to hit that pick. So once we get it going, we're going to have to move that. It's going to put a heck of a lot of pressure on it. Of course, I've got it up kind of at an awkward angle here. So we're going to put pressure on it. It's going down. If it starts getting tight, we're going to give a tap of the hammer, and that'll, you know, just like that. Just a little louder. So I've got some pressure on it. See? Just like I told you. everybody make the sound together. Oh, the poor little pick. Oh, it's gonna come flying in right in the face. I can see it. So our whole bottom cup is moving out. Now we don't want to tear our boot. A boot. Sounds like I'm Canadian. I gotta ask you a boot something. No offense to I got some Canadian friends. That's how they talk. So try it right there. The last little bit is tricky. I'm off center now. Oh, it's gonna come flying. Gotta move it again. See, if you don't have the right cups, you just need to improvise. Son of a hoo-ha. Oh. Never been down under your ball joint press. They have a tendency to leave town on you. Right. One last hoorah, and I think we got it. Oh, she's tight. All right, one last hoorah, and I think we got it. Did I just say that? Taking the wrench off. She is golden. Sitting flat. Now that I don't have the cups, am I really going to buy them? I don't know. I've probably done them this way a dozen times. Dodge pickups are about the same. Always on an angle. It's the angle of the dangle. Put our grease fitting back in. Get this snug, make sure our bottom one is snugged. Oops. And it is. And that's it, fellas. Piece of cake. So now that the hard work's done, we basically just got to work backwards. Now I took and just threw my knuckle in the sandblaster, cleaned off where the wheel bearing goes, you know, just around like on the brake mounting points, because we do have to put some spacers in here. So we will just put it on in the correct direction the first time. We'll stick it up there. Where did I put my nuts? I found them. Don't you worry. We'll put the bottom one in, and then of course the bracket on the top one. And then torque them down to factory specs and all that jazz. Put the cotter keys in them, or whatever you'd like to call them. And we get to slide our sweet axle in. I've already went ahead and put the U-joints in the axles. They're all ready to roll. I don't know if I mentioned it before or not, but I did order the wrong set the first time, like a ding dong. Where we left the hole. There's that one. That one looks good. I'll do the same thing on the bottom. Yeah, good enough. Good enough. It's not quite the exact size, but it's a big nut. Slide the hole down here. Where are you? Oh. There we go. It did come with cotter pins. Stick them in, bend them down, however you like. Everybody always complains about the way they get bent because it's not how they do it on airplanes or in the military or at NASA. But we're not going to the moon, so it really doesn't matter. We just don't want our ball joint or castle nut to fall off. So bend them however your little heart desires. Get them trimmed. Where's my axe? Oh, right here conveniently. And here's our new super sick axle. Heavy duty. Spicer U-joint, has the speed sensor tone ring already on it. So we'll slip that in. We'll just kind of guide it. Don't just go smashing into your seal. And just kind of feel it into the splines, and that's it. Piece of cake, wrong stuff. We're going to take and give it a little toot, keep it from rusting up again. I suppose you could sandblast the whole thing and, you know, paint it, stuff like that if you'd like. Stick the factory bolts back in. Ours are good enough to reuse. Now here's the important part. You got to have this spacer. So here's the spacer that it comes with. The bolts fit very snugly. So you kind of got to spin them through. I don't know why they fit it so snugly, but they do. Like I mentioned, we are reusing the old wheel bearing. Oops, dropped some stuff. I stuck it in the blaster, blew the face off it, and then around where it goes in, you know, being careful not to, you know, blast down in the seal. I should have wiped the seal off. I didn't. I'll do that, and then we'll stick that on. Just like new. And we'll also spray this down in case we miss some on where it goes in. Because I'm sure at some point this is coming back off. Sheba's in the office moaning at me. She's mad because she can't be out here. She ran out into the road, almost got hit. So she's in detention right now. There's that. Now let's go through with a torque wrench here and torque them tight. Just don't want it falling off on you. There. Now once that is done, it does come with a new washer right here. It's thinner than the OEM one, so there's that one. Here is the factory one. You know, I don't know if you can reuse the factory one or not. We're gonna use the one that they sent with it. Stick that on there. Maybe it has something to do with the alignment of the cotter pin, perhaps, and the thickness, overall thickness of everything. It does fit the factory nut. So we'll spin that down, and of course torque it to spec. Go find a torque wrench. Probably be easier with the tie rod hooked up. It's going to want to dance around on us. There's that. Good and tight. Oh, she's fancy. Look at that. Oh. Fancy, fancy. And then we have the wavy washer that goes in. And then the little castle that goes on top. Never seems to line up perfectly. Always use a new cotter key. That's what they tell me. Running out of fluid film. So we're going to cut it down where the rotor goes, because we don't want that getting all rusty. Let's pretty much spray everything around this place. Whoa, hang on. We'll stick. Smush the rotor up on there. We'll spray the face of that, because this is where our adapter goes. Yeah, I'll wipe off the rotor, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Put our wheel spacer on there. And don't forget to go back and torque these. We'll torque them after we put the caliper on. That way we can just stick a screwdriver in there. Stay. Oh, you know what's coming. The brake clean. Get our rotor wiped off. That way our brakes aren't all slippery. Wipe this extra snot off here so it's not slinging around on us. It'll burn off, right? She rotates nice and smooth. You guys see the U-joint in there? Isn't that sexy? Oh, what's next? I suppose we could run our wire back through. Put that back in the bracket. Bring it around town. Back in there. I'll give that a little toot of fluid film also, so it doesn't get stuck. Find the bolt. There's the bolt. Find the nut driver. There's the nut driver. It's like the magic hat over here. Just keep pulling stuff. It's gonna line up. Oh yeah, she did. Great, somebody's here. Freaking people on the weekends. There's that. Yeehaw. Deal with a customer. These are the spacers, same thickness as the wheel bearing spacer. Ooh, slide them in. Comes with new bolts. Of course, the bolts have to be longer. So I'll just stick them in there just like so. And then grab my bracket. Get them started. Snug them up. Throw the caliper on. And take it for a shimmy. Hopefully it doesn't bind up too awful bad. The 247 transfer case is a full-time transfer case. Not my favorite choice. We're going to use it till it breaks or it becomes annoying. Whatever happens first, and then we'll swap it out. Probably a select track, I imagine. I'll have to look at my options. Select track, the 242 is super easy to put in. Linkage, everything lines up, and then of course then you have your part time and the ability to put it in two-wheel drive, which is nice. Two-wheel drive in a V8 though, it's got to be fun. You can get these Grand Cherokee Limiteds with the 242 HD transfer case from the factory. Kind of a rare option, didn't see it much. However, I think I would have to buy a different rear drive shaft. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to get some grease, put grease on a caliper, slide the caliper on, torque the extension on, and I'm done. There you have it, folks. That's putting ball joints in the old WJ, and of course putting the upgraded U-joint style axles in the front end. Pretty simple. Yeah, I think it takes longer to clean the rusty crap up that we're putting back on, you know, like the wheel bearing and rotor and knuckle and stuff like that than it does anything else. And then again with the ball joint, I should buy the adapters, but I don't know. You can see the method that I used worked. It's up to you. Just make sure that the ball joint is going in straight is going to be your biggest hurdle, I think, if you have to overcome anything, which would, you know, goof it up, get it going in there cockeyed, and it scores the, you know, axle housing, just more of a pain to get it straightened back up. So that's it. Gonna get going. I'm gonna need my lift for Monday, so that's all I'm gonna do on it at this point. Still got to do the rear drive shaft, front drive shaft, bar pin eliminators. Got the skid plate for the transfer case we got to get done. Tie rod ends, and then go out and break it and see what's where the weak links are. I'm sure we'll find them soon enough. In the meantime, go down, click subscribe, keep a look on the playlist for the WJ. That's where all the videos for it'll be. Trying to keep them compiled in one neat little book. Find us around socials, Patreon, all that stuff. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.